What's up there guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're having a quick garden tour. Let's dig in.
It'll make your make your garden grow.
Wanted to say a quick apology for the lack of uploads of late due to the current situation. I've been waiting for a few deliveries that have been going on a little bit longer than I was expected in order that I could get my nettle brew on the go and that I could finish building my greenhouse, two of the videos that I was planning on doing for you. However, in the meantime, I'm just going to try something a little bit different, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of a top to bottom tour of my garden, all in one take, minimal editing on my part, and I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please hit subscribe and like, and don't forget to share this video around. Starting at the top just with this collection of plants that I've got planned for going in. We've got some raspberries, tayberries, a few veggies and tomatoes, rhubarb, all sorts in there. I'm really looking forward to getting those in the ground. I'll show you a little bit about where they're all going to be going when we get down to the proper part of the garden. Little makeshift dog fence. It's built out of pallets and chicken wire, in need of some maintenance and repair actually, but it's serving purpose for now. Again, apologies, it's a little bit messy. The kids do use this upper part of the garden, so all sorts of toys and things around. First bit we come to is my little bramble wall. These were coming up underneath the shed anyway, so I've just thought I'll just train them, get them up off the path, hopefully encourage them to produce a little bit more fruit. If it's there already, we don't need to fight it, might as well use it, right? Speaking of not fighting and just making use of what we've got available, raspberries. This garden was absolutely full of them, and these have just come up underneath this concrete here, between these paving slabs. Again, I'm just going to let them do their thing, possibly train them a little bit if needs be, but if it's usable, why not keep it? This is my strawberry wall. These are some of the plants that I rescued from my parents' garden. These are all first year, so they were mothered last year off the mother plants. These ones could probably do with a bigger pot, to be honest, but I suspect those are actually pine berries in there, because these are a little bit smaller than the strawberries usually, and they produce a white fruit instead of a red fruit. A little sorry looking blueberry, I've just had to repot that one. It stayed a little bit too long in the pot that I bought it with, but some of the leaves are bouncing back, so I'm sure it will continue to thrive over the coming years once we get it in the ground. Gooseberry, again just a little baby bush. Only got a couple of little gooseberries on there, but again in a few years this will be a pretty decent plant, I'm fairly sure. Another blueberry, because the kids go through them. Ridiculous, two different varieties. The other one was a Patriot, this is a blue gold. Doing a lot better, this one's been in this plant pot for a while now. Blackcurrant. Again, just waiting for a place to find in the garden, and some more cane plants here. We've got a golden queen raspberry and thornless blackberry as well. This is the current dumping ground. Believe it or not, all the things in those black bags just came out of the garden, either scattered on the floor or have been dug up. With the tips not being fully open at the minute, we're just holding them in storage. Also my pallet store. I've been keeping my scrap wood. This is eventually going to be sort of a small growing area patio. We'll have a couple of raised beds on here, maybe get a little bit of shade towards the back. Come up here a little bit. Some more brambles coming up here. Again, I might just train these along the fence. If it's coming up and I don't need to fight it, I might as well use it, right? Once again, I apologise for the mess. This is all a work in progress. There was so much junk in this garden, and I've just been focusing on functionality over form at the moment. We've got our 3 raised garden beds. The one down here was the first one we sowed out. That's been doing spinach and lettuce and radishes, and there's a few beets in there. We were hoping for more. I'm just swapping this over to the corn now. Got those planted in a few days ago, and we're going to have some cucumbers and some courgettes around the outside, and then right in the middle few peas, and hopefully they're going to go and climb up the corn in the old three sisters method, but only using two of the sisters. Some strawberries and onions, and got some more beans in the middle there. Again, they've not long been transplanted. Earlier this week, earthed them up. They seem to be settling in quite nicely. A couple of marigolds there as well, just because you can never have too many marigolds. If you don't know, then marigolds are actually really good as a pesticide. They produce it from their roots, and they're really good at keeping away soil nematodes and all sorts of other nasties. So you should be growing them wherever you can in your garden beds. I think I'm actually going to start planting them around the borders a little bit, just to encourage pollinators as well. This was the third bed that we planted out. Just got some butterfly netting over the top to keep the cats off it while the plants were getting all seeded and getting going. We've got some shallots here, and then a mixture of some root vegetables. I believe there's some beetroot in here. This is spinach. We've got some mixed lettuce there, more spinach, some red leaf lettuce. That's not actually done so well in the middle, I'm not sure why. A couple of volunteer potatoes. Keep finding these popping up in my beds. Carrots around this edge down here. There's some carrots coming up down here as well. Actually had a little bit of a problem with weeds in this bed. There's this vine that you can see that keeps coming up. It must have got a little bit of root in there from a previous bed, and it's just gone nuts. So I might have to quarantine and try and sort this bed out after we've used it. I don't want these continuing to pester me from season to season. There is also some dock that keeps coming up as well, so might have to dig right down and try and get those roots out. It's a bit of a pain in the backside dock, but we'll see. Up this side is my scrapyard. Just picked up a whole bunch of bricks and been using them in the greenhouse, which we'll get to a little bit later. Lots of bits of wood and things I'm going to be using for mulch, for compost. Old garden gate there. This is the top of what's going to be Terrace Garden. Got our potatoes at the back. First earlies on the right hand side, all the way through to main crop on the left hand side, and then same thing at the bottom. These were planted as soon as we earthed those ones up, so we should have succession crops coming. The two trees we've got, this is a Jonagold apple. That one doesn't seem to have done so well, but it's perking up a little bit. Took a while to get settled in, but starting to get some nice new growth in here around the base, which I'm quite pleased about. More little leaves here and here as well. Perhaps that's going to do better than I thought. The other apple, which has done really well since transplanting, is the Discovery over here. That one is looking really nice and leafy and nice and compact. Just judging from the stem size, I think this is probably a year older than the Jonagold apple over there. Cherry tree, that's settled in really well. Produced loads of flowers, but we don't seem to have very many cherries on here, unfortunately. There's one there. There's another one knocking about somewhere. Can't see it right now. Oh, there. Not sure if you can see it on the camera. A little bit closer. It's hiding underneath there. There it is. Teeny tiny cherry. I'm going to have a little shelter up here at the top. I'm just going to get that focused again. I'm going to have another little shelter up here at the top. My missus wants a little retreat, so we're going to build a little cabin shed thing up here, which will be quite cool. Then down the hill we've got the main herb garden. Seeds were only sown then quite recently, so we've got one that might be starting to show its face down here. A little bit of parsley. We might have to re-sow those and just start the herbs off in pots, because I'm not so sure and they've done so well. The kids helped with this one, so I'm not sure about the quality of the seed planting. We're going to repeat that idea over here, using these great big rocks that have come out of the garden. Put up a little herb garden right around here, as well as interspersing the herbs into the main beds as well. This hill here was absolutely full of ash tree stools, so tiny little stumps just like this. I've had to dig about 7 of them out. It's been an absolute nightmare because they just keep doing this over and over again. No matter how much you pull them off and chop them off, the only other solution I found is to burn them, but that takes a few fires and I need it done a little bit quicker than that, so yeah, unfortunately been left with digging them up. It's the only really major patch of weeds that's left. This whole area, this side of the fence, used to look like that, but about 3 times as high. It was ridiculous. Yeah, some bits of wood that I've cut we're going to be using just to build some beds in front of the retaining wall there, and then just in front of that we're going to have a little path, and then more beds just going down the hill as need be. This side here we're going to put a little trellis, and I'm going to put all my cane fruits in there, so all the blackberries and the raspberries, things like that, the tayberry, Japanese wineberry when I eventually managed to get hold of that one as well. Get them all in there, make a nice little trellis garden for the soft fruits. Come down the hill a little bit, you can see this little rock pile is where there's actually going to be a pond eventually, fingers crossed. And then up on the hill behind it, I'm guessing that's probably where I'm going to be putting my fruit bushes as well. Over here, I've got my grower house built out of pallet wood and the remains of the old shed that was just exactly where that is. Only this is probably about 3 times as big as the shed. These wonderful pallet shelves at the back, which made for a great base structure to build everything else off. This funky little corner is just here simply because of the materials that I had available. I've used an old shower cubicle to help glaze some of it up, save on the plastic, and we actually had 2 big pieces of this glass. Unfortunately, one of them is broken. Inside we're going to have some growing beds. You can see I've just put the frame around for the outside. I'll fill all this up with soil. I've put cardboard down on the floor to try and stop any more weed stuff coming up. And the reason I've built out of bricks in here rather than out of wood is because particularly during the winter I'm going to want it to be able to retain as much heat as possible. So all these bricks are going to be acting as thermal mass. Got our first set of tomatoes in. Primarily what we're going to be growing in here is going to be tomatoes. Do also have a grapevine down in the corner here. See if I can get a bit closer for you. See it? There it is. And that is just right at the bottom. Get this in focus. Yep, just starting to sprout again, which is really good. Lots of different tomatoes. I've got as many different varieties as I possibly could. I want to see which ones do better and which ones don't do so good. We've got ox heart tomatoes, which is a beefsteak style. Nice big chunky ones. Great for your breakfasts. And then another variety of beefsteak over here. This is called Marmande. I think the Marmande seem to be doing a little bit better than the beefsteak. The big one at the back is also a Marmande. We've got some peppers, chilli, there's a cucumber called Benny apparently. Got all the kids. Courgette. 2 tomatoes at the back are the old Gardener's Delight and the Tumbler. It's going to go in a little hanging basket, that one. And then underneath, we've got things that I do really need to plant today. So my runner beans, this one's almost starting to climb all the way up to the bottom of the shelf above. So we do really need to try and get that one in the ground today. That's my doggy. Hi, doggy. So yeah, all these beds are just going to be filled up with compost. Store-bought, unfortunately, not had time to generate enough of our own compost to fill all these beds, so that's going to be the sort of the primary expense besides the plants at the moment. Everything else you can see I've pretty much got for free wherever I can. Speaking of the beans, got this battered looking bed, which is, I'm going to reinforce that a little bit. Probably about the worst raised bed I've ever built. Really, really flimsy. I might not even use that at all. The runner beans, sorry. In this. That's what I'm going to use for them. I was thinking that inside that. Planting around the outside. Not so much pressure because we're not filling it with as much soil that it's got to resist. We'll see. Anyway, that pretty much completes the tour. I was thinking I might do one of these once a month, so you can just sort of see progress that's being made. Future plans are to actually take this fence here and to move it all the way up to the side of this. Let's do a little bit of shuffling with the old flags, but across to there. That should give us enough room for at least 4 decent size grow beds, maybe more. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, and I'll see you all next time.